everyone. So it's Dawn Russell, and I'm here with my dear friend and colleague,
Lorraine Pimienta.
And we're here to talk about today the King Salomon Auric region healing series. She and I just finished trading this series with each other, and it's been life-changing. It's been profound. So we wanted to share some of our learnings from it, some of our experiences, what we think this healing series really offers for people. Do you want to start, Lorraine?
Yeah, so this is a really cool one where you would meet one-on-one with a practitioner for 10 weeks, working with each of the archangels, going through the different layers of the aura. And it does a couple of really interesting things, like removing masks, healing some ancestral things that are affecting you.
Yeah, it helps to be more of you, more of your divine self. So as we go through life, we naturally all take on things that are adaptations, coping mechanisms, masks. You know, it comes from our upbringing, from our indoctrination, maybe our trauma. And so those things are really just covering up our true expression of our divinity and our authenticity. So this series is really about releasing us from the binds of those things that are not us, that are preventing us from giving our full selves to the world and our highest potential. It's very impactful.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And what would you say, Dawn, what was one of the first things you noticed when we started this session?
I noticed that I started expressing myself differently. I started using different words, different intonation, but also was much freer in my expression. I was less in my head about like, how is this person gonna perceive what I'm about to say, prejudging what I'm about to say before I express myself. That was a lot of how I operated in the world, was from a place of fear, of judgment of myself, fear of how others are gonna perceive me, relying on other people's acceptance to accept myself. And I noticed that I don't care anymore. I mean, I care in the way that I care about people, and I want to be of service to them, I want to help them, but it's not going to stop me from being who I am, worrying about what they are thinking on the other end, because a lot of those things are just illusions in our mind anyway, right? How we expect the other person to perceive us comes from our trauma, our wounding. It has nothing to do with the other person, right?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And it's something like you and I talked about a lot, how we were very much in a cycle of judging ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I love what you said, that your perception of yourself would be a lot of times based on what you thought other people were going to think about you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that is one of the biggest shifts even I saw, is that I am so much more comfortable with talking about what I do and the healing in the healings and activations that we offer, and talking about the lineage in the Modern Mystery School that really transformed us and changed our lives.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And we had some experiences during this session. So it's 10 weeks. We were trading once a week, and we had to practice. We had some opportunities to practice what was shifting for us, because we did about midway through the series an expo together where we had a booth, a vendor booth, and at a fair, and we talked to people. And then just this past weekend, we did another expo with some of our other colleagues in Southern California right after we finished the series. So what did you notice about how you were expressing yourself and you were talking about this work during the series and after the series versus how you used to?
Oh yeah, that was big. I remember one of the first times I was going to be talking about the sessions that we offer and the classes that we offer. I thought, can I even do this? You know, I've always had a teacher, or practitioner, or a guide guiding me, but stepping into that role, I was at first very, very worried. But things have shifted so much. We were talking about earlier, it is offering an opportunity for healing, an opportunity to know that there is so much more than just this. And it was like I was able to talk about with no issue, no self-judgment, no judgment of the other person, or even trying to preempt what they were trying to say or what they were going to say to me when I talked about what we do. It just flowed so much easier. I would say that was probably one of the biggest shifts, the shifting of self-judgment.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I noticed when I was talking at these most recent expos versus how I used to, you know, someone would walk up to my booth and I would judge them, first of all. I'd look at how they were dressed, their body language. Okay, I think this person is this way. So now I'm going to show them this Dawn that's in this little compartmentalized box because I think that's what they want, you know? And I would prejudge them and prejudge myself and hide parts of myself from the other people that I felt they weren't wanting or they weren't ready for or that I wasn't willing to expose. And I was really not doing a service to them or to me by doing that, right? Because all I'm trying to do, like Lorraine said, is offer them an opportunity. Now, had someone had not offered me the opportunity to have the life activation and empower thyself initiation, I would be living a much lesser life. I would be probably very miserable because that's how I was before I found this path. And I'd probably just be even more so. So if there's something getting in the way of me just offering that opportunity to someone in a really authentic way, that's holding me back and that's holding them back. And that's, you know, so it's a disservice to everyone, right? And in our lineage, we want to create what's called Shambhala, world peace. And that really for us is about everyone stepping into their gifts, into their purpose, expressing their true divinity, being able to share their uniqueness and not be afraid of being judged or judging themselves. And so I feel like this series is such a gateway to creating Shambhala because now we are both much freer to express ourselves and not be afraid. Right?
Exactly. And you know, it's something that a lot of us have been socially conditioned to do because we both come from corporate backgrounds. And yes, you know, you have to put on a mask in the corporate world. And yes, you got to be professional, that's important, but it was always tiptoeing around other people and their ego and their perception of you, and reputation in the corporate world is actually very, very important. And it's something that everybody's very aware of. So in a way, you and I have come from that background, and it's just undoing all of that picking of, or unpicking all of that, all those masks that we had. And it was so incredible to be able to connect to each of the archangels that brought a different healing, a different energy that went very, very deep in the different layers of us that I don't even think, at least I wasn't completely aware of.
Oh no, not at all. Yeah, I definitely wasn't aware of all the things I was carrying. It's one of those things where, like, if you were carrying a backpack for a year that weighed 20 pounds and you were never allowed to take it off, and then all of a sudden, week by week, somebody's taking 2 pounds out of that backpack, that's kind of what it was like energetically.
Yeah.
Right? You're taking, like, brick by brick, you're releasing some of that weight, and by the end you're like, oh, I didn't know I was carrying that 20-pound backpack, but I feel so much better now. That's how I feel energetically after this series is complete.
Oh, 100%. And, you know, we're, even the way, like, I think about myself and the way I feel like I can really lean into service, that was been really, really big. And it has been such a gift. And it is a big commitment because it is 10 weeks that we would go and make sure that we made the time to see each other to do this session. It was such a shift in terms of just being very, very comfortable with, you know, who I am. And I don't know if you feel the same as well.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, week by week, I could see that my expression was changing, the way I was holding myself was changing, the reservations I had about showing different sides of myself to people and prejudging that was just like gone, you know, just being like, I don't know, just carried away by the wind or something. Like,
oh yeah.
And then by the end it's gone and you're like, wow, that's better. That's better. That's better to be able to show up myself as my full self and not judge other people, not judge myself, just be free in my authenticity. It's very freeing. It's extremely liberating.
Oh, 100%. And I actually even found like my patience improved. My patience in terms of, being more patient with myself, but also seeing where other people were coming from. I just had so much more room to love people and to appreciate them, because all of this, I think that self-judgment thing went so deep. It was affecting a lot more than even what I was aware of.
Same. And now that it's gone, it's apparent, but when you're living it, you're not
aware of it.
Aware that it's there, right? And it's like when you have like a little piece of food on the side of your face and you're just walking around and nobody's telling you, and then finally someone tells you, you're like, oh my gosh, how long has that been there?
Yeah, exactly.
And now I'm like, how long was that there? Oh, my whole life. It's like that. But for, your coping mechanisms and your masks. And so now it's like, now I'm just expressing myself as Dawn and Dawn is my higher self, as my divinity. And that's a gift to the world. And now I am able to like much more fully express that to the world, who I really am, because I don't have these weird notions about who I am supposed to be. It's like, well, I just am who I am. And isn't that wonderful?
Exactly. And these masks are such a coping mechanism sometimes, because it's just the way you deal with life. And but who you are deep down inside, you're just so good with it. You're so okay with who you are. It feels like you're a little bit untouchable. In a way.
Totally. Yeah, because things don't affect you the same way. Like your triggers aren't there as much. Your self-judgment isn't there as much. And so you can just be free in the world to move through it and be much more present. That was another thing that I really totally noticed was, most of my life, particularly before I found the school, I was either living in the past in regret, or I was living in the future in anxiety of worry of what was about to happen. Very little of my time was spent in the present moment enjoying it. And so little by little, as I've worked with the school over the past 7 years, I've made a lot of progress in that area. But in the 10 weeks, I noticed a huge shift, like just totally next level, very rapid, accelerated progress in terms of how much I'm able to be present and really enjoy the now.
Oh, 100%. And life is so much more enjoyable that way, because I'm going through a lot of shifts because, I was laid off a little while ago, and I have seen a lot of my colleagues and people in my field suffer a lot because of it. And even though it's a big transition and, uncertainty, people don't do very well with uncertainty, but I just am enjoying my life. I'm enjoying the here and right now, and I'm not suffering so much through this big transition.
Yeah, you even said that to me yesterday. You said, well, I don't have a job, and I could be worried, and I could be miserable, but gosh, I just love my life so much, so I'm not. And it's like, amazing. You're going to get another job, like why suffer now? You're doing the work to get the new job. It's going to happen. There's no reason to create more suffering in your life. Just enjoy what you do have and be grateful for it. And you're able to do that much more now.
Exactly. But, it also showed me, where I prioritize things. And it is actually I found like I'm happier to be leaning deeper into service and deeper into giving an opportunity or showing the results of what the healings and the initiations and everything that we do in the lineage to serve other people, to help people with that discovery process, or even that unlocking of who they really are. And that is probably the greatest joy and the deepest desire that I have to help people in that sort of way. And I think that's why you don't suffer so much in this life anymore.
Yeah, totally. The other thing I noticed for myself that was a big shift was how I experience emotion. So I was brought up to kind of discouraged to express emotion, to feel emotion, to kind of compartmentalize and repress emotion. And also I'm triple Aquarius, so Aquarians are known for being very intellectual, of the mind, maybe a little skeptical of emotion. So I had all of these walls kind of built up about emotions. And I noticed as we were going through this series, I was releasing repressed emotion, which was sometimes uncomfortable because I would find myself just crying for something that I thought was no reason, but really there was a trigger. Like I'd have a thought and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I was holding back this dam of emotions about that particular issue and I just had to release it. But now that we're through the session, I noticed, like, even today I just started crying when I was talking to you about something, and I was like, but that's okay, because now I'm able to experience the emotion in the moment, move through it, and then let it go. And that's really how we're meant to experience our emotions, is to experience them in the moment and then express it and then let it go, and not hold on to anger or sadness or resentment. Like that creates such a well of poison inside of us, you know? And so if we're able to just move through it, it's very healthy. And now I feel like I can do that in a way that I wasn't able to do at all before.
Oh yeah, what a relief.
Yeah.
That you don't drag these things with you for the days, weeks, and months, and those months turn into years.
Yeah.
That's something that happened to you. You're just replaying, or this is something I used to do. I used to replay something over and over and over again. Even if it wasn't a big deal, even if I said something embarrassing, or I felt embarrassed in the moment, it was something I would play over and over and over again. And it's not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
It's just gone.
Right. So it's that living in the past, that's part of it, which we're not doing nearly as much anymore after this series. But also there's an element of shame that I also want to bring up, because I notice I just have almost no shame anymore. Like, not in the way that I'm going to go out and do things that are like reckless, or dumb, but just no shame in expressing who I really am, like this is me, so what? Like, I'm not ashamed in any way of who I am any longer. And the other metaphor I came up with as you were talking was, like, I talked about the backpack metaphor, but I also see, like, imagine if you're like standing there and you have like 10 chains holding you down, and you only have like a certain amount of room to move around in the world because you have these chains binding you. But like every week, one of those chains is released, and it gives you a little bit more freedom and a little bit more room to move around. And then by the time you're done with the 10 weeks, then all of a sudden those chains are gone. And then the world becomes not scary anymore, not as scary, right? Then you can like feel comfortable to just be in the world and explore and express and live. And like, it's just a totally different experience than being bound by 10 chains, It's like...
Oh yeah, that's a great way to put it. Because it's really interesting that you don't even know those chains are there.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't even know those patterns are there because you're just so ingrained with doing what you've always done day after day, month after month, year after year, that you get into this cycle. You have this programming from either when you've grown up or what was expected of you, or you have these coping mechanisms. Like, I used to be a massive people pleaser, but I would always put what I needed aside to make sure everybody else around me was very happy, because I was very empathic. It was almost as if I always felt other people's emotions. So even when I needed some care and love, I put that aside to make room for other people. And everything that I've done and learned, and even the Auric region has gone a lot deeper and allowed me to be free of that. Because it's very important. Yeah, I absolutely 100% care about other people, but making sure everybody is comfortable all the time, that's actually a very dangerous spot to be, both for yourself and for others, because when you move and you shift and you change, you do have that bit, you do sometimes feel uncomfortable. And that's okay, that's a part of life. But when you have the skills and the tools that you can use every day that we learned, over the years that we've studied with the mystery school, it just makes that uncertainty and that being uncomfortable a lot easier than it used to be.
Totally. Yeah, because we're trying to create world peace, and that comes from a place of authenticity, comes from a place of being in the present moment and living your joy and sharing your gifts. Does not come from fear, does not come from shame, it does not come from judgment. those are the antithesis of what we want. And so this series, I felt, shifted me in so many ways that I just don't experience those negative aspects of myself in the same way anymore. They're gone. They're just gone. They've evaporated.
Oh, 100%. And I'm so excited to be able to offer this now.
I hope this was informative. So I'm in San Diego.
And I'm in Orange County.
Yeah, and we also have practitioners all over the world. So if this series interests you, feel free to reach out for a consultation or even reach out just for a referral for someone in your area if you're not in Southern California.
Yeah.
Okay,
Great.
Thanks, Lorraine.
Thank you, Dawn.
Bye.